What if I told you that every war America fights has less to do with freedom and everything to do with profit? That your patriotism, your tax dollars, and even your children are being fed into a machine designed to extract blood for billions? That from Vietnam to Iraq to Ukraine, the United States has been waging wars not for peace, but for perpetual profit. You are not supposed to know this. You are supposed to wave the flag, say thank you for your service, and move on. But this is the truth they will never teach in school. This is the hidden history of the military-industrial complex. And unless we confront it now, we will pay the price forever. Let us begin with a warning that America ignored. In 1961, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a five-star general and supreme Allied commander during World War II, gave his final address as president. He was not a conspiracy theorist. He had lived war, commanded men, and witnessed the raw machinery of the battlefield. And yet, his last message was not about unity, hope, or democracy. It was a warning. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. This was not political poetry. It was a war hero exposing a cancer taking root inside America itself. He saw what was forming, a network of weapons manufacturers, private defense contractors, military generals, think tanks, and politicians intertwined by contracts, kickbacks, and campaign donations. It was not just a group, it was an ecosystem, an industry that could only survive if America kept fighting. Peace became the enemy, and war became the product. Fast forward to Vietnam, 58,000 Americans dead, over 2 million Vietnamese civilians gone, Agent Orange poisoning generations, and still the war was called a mistake. But was it really? Because if you ask the CEOs of Bell Helicopter, Dow Chemical, and McDonnell Douglas, they will say Vietnam was a gold rush. Billions in contracts, helicopters by the thousands, napalm by the ton, M16 rifles churned out like soda cans. The longer it lasted, the higher the stock soared. Victory was never the goal. Continuation was. Do you remember Iraq? Weapons of mass destruction. That was the lie. No WMDs were ever found. But do you know what was found? Oil fields handed over to private companies. Halliburton receiving $39.5 billion in no-bid contracts, while Vice President Dick Cheney, its former CEO, sat in the White House. It was not war. It was a business deal sealed in blood. Afghanistan to 20 years, $2 trillion, and zero victory. Osama bin Laden could have been captured at Tora Bora. But letting him escape kept the war alive. We're told we were building schools, defending freedom, liberating women. But less than 10% of the money ever reached Afghan civilians. Over 40% of all war spending went straight to private contractors. DynCorp, KBR, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, they got paid whether the mission succeeded or failed. In fact, failure meant more money. Delays meant more contracts. Not a bug. Do you know what happens when you create a war-dependent economy? You get budgets that grow endlessly. In 2000, the U.S. military budget was $300 billion. Today, over $850 billion. That is more than the next 10 countries combined. And yet somehow, the Pentagon says it still needs more, because every year, new threats are created. North Korea, Iran, Russia, China, terrorism, cyber war, artificial intelligence, pandemic defense, Space Force. There is always a new frontier to militarize. It's always a new market to exploit. These are not just military decisions. These are financial decisions. Lockheed Martin made over $65 billion last year. Raytheon, $67 billion. Boeing, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics together, over $250 billion. These firms fund political campaigns. They write policy through lobbying. They place former generals and intelligence officers on their boards. They fund think tanks that write war plans. They're not separate from the government. They are embedded within it. Look at the revolving door. James Mattis goes from being Secretary of Defense to the board of General Dynamics. Mark Esper goes from Raytheon to Secretary of Defense and back. Lloyd Austin sits on the board of Raytheon before leading the Pentagon. This is not public service. This is corporate rotation. In the media is not innocent. The same networks that sell you war bring on military analysts who work for defense firms. They show grainy footage of missiles and say, America must respond. They interviewed defense lobbyists dressed as experts. They show bombs like fireworks and talk about precision strikes and surgical attacks. But they never show the blown limbs, the dead children, the PTSD, the suicide rates. Because real war does not sell. Sanitized war does. Let us talk about American bases. The United States has over 750 military installations in more than 80 countries. No empire in history, not Rome, not Britain, not the Mongols, has matched that. These bases are not about defense. They're about dominance. Strategic choke points, oil-rich regions, shipping lanes, intelligence hubs. This is global policing under the banner of democracy. And when countries push back, when leaders challenge the petrodollar, reject U.S. bases, or threaten to trade outside American systems, they suddenly become dictators or sponsors of terror. Saddam Hussein tried to trade oil in euros. Gaddafi proposed a gold-backed dinar. Both were eliminated. Libya today is a failed state, but its oil contracts are just fine. Follow the money. The war is not always with bullets. Sanctions or economic warfare, cyber warfare, covert regime change, color revolutions. It's funding of proxy groups. These are cheaper, cleaner, and less visible. But the goal is always the same: control. And when the game gets messy, boots go on the ground. The American people are not in control of this machine. They vote left or right, but war continues either way. Obama bombed 7 countries. Trump dropped the mother of all bombs. Biden continues drone strikes, because the decisions are not being made in the White House. They are being made in the boardrooms of defense contractors, in the smoky rooms of lobbyists, in Pentagon procurement meetings. And they are not measured in lives, they are measured in queue for profits. The cost to you: crumbling roads, underfunded schools, millions without health care, homeless veterans, 30,000 dead by suicide since 2001, 4 times more than killed in combat. But every year, the budget rises, because bombs are bipartisan. War is the only place where Democrats and Republicans shake hands. Let me ask you, how many contractors died in Afghanistan? You probably do not know, because they were not reported the same way. They were paid 5 times as much. They had better armor, better food, better housing. The war was privatized. Accountability was vaporized. The chaos is the point. War creates demand. Drones need replacing. Ammo needs restocking. Tanks need upgrades. Software needs updating. And every new war is a new sales pitch. Ukraine, Raytheon and Lockheed Martin stock prices soared after the invasion. Politicians publicly called for sending F-16s while holding shares in the companies that make them. This is not defense. This is corporate warfare with your tax dollars and your sons. And the greatest lie, that it is all for your safety, that America is always the hero, that every bomb dropped is for democracy. Meanwhile, the country you live in decays from within. Your freedoms shrink, your wages stagnate, your healthcare bankrupts you, but the machine keeps humming. So how do we stop it? First, expose it. Share this. Talk about it. Demand audits of every defense contract. Demand that media disclose analyst conflicts. Demand an end to the revolving door between military brass and defense boards. Second, reframe patriotism. Loving America does not mean cheering for war. It means fighting for truth. It means saying no more blood for profit. It means calling out the corruption wrapped in red, white, and blue. Third, redirect the money. What could $850 billion a year do for America? Free healthcare. Student debt wiped out. Affordable housing. National high-speed rail. Clean water in every city. Mental health care for every veteran. The budget exists. The will does not. The real war is not overseas. The real war is for your mind. And right now the machine is winning. But if enough Americans wake up, ask the forbidden questions, and demand accountability, we can dismantle the war economy. We can break the cycle. But we must act before the next war begins. Before the next generation is fed to the furnace. You want to honor the troops? Stop creating more coffins. You want to protect freedom? Fight the corporations hijacking it. You want to save America? Then follow the money. Find the truth.
Oh.
Because until we expose them, they will keep marching you into war with a flag in one hand and a contract in the other.